Greetings from the Garden of Eden. It is a chilly but sunny day, and we are blessed. I wanted to take this opportunity to give a little commentary, a little perspective on the Feeding the Homeless event we had on Saturday. It was an extreme success. People around the world are, in support, in gratitude for the event, tuning in on Facebook, things of that nature. And number one, I'd like to say that yes, it was a success. We dished over 600 servings of extremely healthy food, extremely tasty food, and extremely sustainable food. And this is really important for me because we weren't just giving free food to people. We were giving them healthy food. We were giving them delicious food. And we were giving them sustainable food. And all three of those things are facets that homeless people don't normally get, and actually most people don't normally get. If you have a lot of money or you're extremely gifted, in the kitchen, you might eat delicious food. If you're extremely health conscious and you grow your own food, you might get healthy food and maybe sustainable food. But all three of those is actually a very rare experience. So here in the Garden of Eden, we are harvesting mass amounts of food, and we are feeding people this food. So it's very sustainable, it's very healthy, and we're alchemizing it into delicious dishes. And this event is important for those aspects, but it's even more important because of the nature of the event itself. Now in Dallas, they make it extremely difficult to feed people. You have to have permits, you have to have licenses, you have to follow all sorts of ridiculous procedures, you have to provide all sorts of ridiculous things. You can't just feed people. And this is a big problem because we have the right. We have the right. It is a natural right. It is a birthright to give, to support our fellow man, our fellow woman, our brothers and our sisters. In fact, it's a duty. It is our duty to support our community, our family, our brothers and our sisters. And to regulate that, to license that, it's an atrocity. And this atrocity is happening throughout the globe right now. People are having to have licenses to do almost everything. People are having to have, regulation and taxation to do almost everything. And this is a big problem because this is how the global elite, this is how the system is taking control. They're regulating everything, they're taxing everything, and they're licensing everything. So it requires money and it requires censorship. And that's control. So we went out to feed the people, and we didn't have any permits. We didn't have any licenses. And, we didn't follow any of those rules, except for the golden rule, which is do no harm, which is support your brothers and your sisters, your fellow man. We did that. Now, we teamed up with Murdoch and the Don't Comply organization, the Don't Comply group, which is a really important group. It's called Don't Comply, which means don't comply. Don't just comply. Just because there's a rule, it doesn't mean that you comply with it. Just because there's somebody with a gun, it doesn't mean you don't comply. What about honor? What about integrity? Right? What about standards? Right? And that's what we're living for here in the Garden of Eden is standards, is a standard of honor, a standard of conduct. Having food is not enough. We need to have healthy food. We need to have sustainable food. If it's not healthy food, you're poisoning yourself. And if it's not sustainable food, you're destroying the earth. And that's what's happening. 99% of the food that people are eating around the world is destroying the environment that is this earth. And the human habitat is being destroyed. So we need to claim our power, we need to be in our power, and we need to start living from this standard of honor, this standard of integrity. And Don't Comply is doing that in many ways, so we teamed up with them. And we teamed up with them to serve the people and to do it without permits. So we showed up there, and we from the Garden of Eden, we had fruit salad, a whole cooler full of fruit salad. We had chicken veggie melody, We had a ham and potato stew. The Don't Comply had the deer chili and a rabbit stew. So we had this, we had just this repertoire of like very, very high quality food, even most restaurants aren't going to carry, pretty much no restaurants actually are going to carry food at this kind of a quality, at this kind of a standard. Obviously our food here is highly sustainable. Not only do we harvest it sustainably, but we also prepare it sustainably. We don't use disposables. We don't use, paper towels. We don't use any sorts of disposables. We don't use foil. We don't use any of that stuff. We don't even use, bleach and all those kinds of things. We make all of our own, cleansers and sanitizers. We're cooking on a wood-burning stove. We made all of that food on a wood-burning stove. We're not using electricity or propane. Highly sustainable, highly conscious, highly responsible.